Infographic of communication flow and process. Communication meaning. Communication came from the Latin term communicare, which means to share. Is the act of conveying meaning to a person or group of people using a mutually understood symbols, gestures, behaviors, and semiotic rules. Communication process. The goal of communication is to transmit information and the understanding information from one person or group to another person or group. This communication process is divided into three basic components. A sender conveys a message through a channel to the receiver. Communication model, sender, messages, transmission, recipient, receiver. The other important feature is the feedback cycle. When two people interact, communication is rarely one way only. When a person receives a message, she responds to it by giving a reply. The feedback cycle is the same as the sender-receiver, feedback noted in figures. Otherwise, the sender can't know whether the other parties properly interpreted the message or how they react to it. Principles of communication. It is mentioned earlier that communication is an acquired skill or something that you can learn about as you go through the process of development. But not everyone is skilled knowing that there are some factors that affect the development of one's individual. To attain such an effective communication, it is important to know the principles of communication. Principle of clarity. The thought or idea that needs to be communicated should be spelled properly. The word should be arranged in such a way that the receiver understands the same word which the sender conveys. Pronunciation should be clear as possible, including the enunciation to avoid misconception. Principle of attention. Attention is very important in communication. One should pay attention to every single detail in communicating. To understand what the sender means, the receiver should be drawn towards the message by paying attention to the emotion, behavior, manner, and gesture so they may respond properly to the message. Principle of feedback. A feedback signifies the communication is effective. Therefore, it is important to provide feedback once communication takes place. Principle of informality. There are major distinctions between formal and informal communication. To emphasize, there are times that formal communication may not accomplish and desired result, so informal communication can be effective and efficient in some situations. Principle of consistency. Consistency always matters in communication. To achieve consistent result, one must be consistent in the way they communicate. Principle of timeliness. This principle states that communication should be done at an accurate time as possible. To attain this principle, the sender who conveys the message should make a safety measure when delivering the message. Principle of adequacy. This principle is important in communication. Inadequate message creates confusion to the receiver, but an adequate message builds rapport to both parties. So, it is important to deliver adequate message at all times in all respect. Communication ethics. Ethics is the moral system or judgment of what is right from wrong and also refers to the values, conduct, manners, and behavior with the respect of rightness and wrongness of an action. Ethical communication advocates truthfulness, accuracy, honesty, and endorses freedom of expression with its diversity of perspective that leads to the respect of other communicators before evaluating as responding to their message. Examples of communication ethics. Maintaining the correct balance between the speaking and listening, the legitimacy of fear and emotional appeal, degree of criticism and praise. Principles of ethical communication. advocate truthfulness, accuracy, honesty, and reason as essential to the integrity of communication, endorse freedom of expression, diversity of perspective, and tolerance of dissent to achieve the informed and responsible decision-making fundamental to a civil society. Strive to understand and respect other communicators before evaluating and responding to their messages. The communication process. This is the sender. He has a message to send. I love you. This is the receiver. She is the person who received a message. He is using a channel to send his message. The channel he is using here is his voice. There is a plane flying over so she can clearly hear him. This is called interference. When the receiver responds to the sender, she is giving him feedback. The receiver replies, I love you too. And this is the communication process. Communication process. Saying to each other, how are you? Hi, I am good, hello. Components of communication process. 1. Sender. The person who intends to convey the message with the intention of passing information and ideas to others. 2. Ideas. This is the subject matter of communication. This may be an opinion, attitude, feeling, views, or orders or suggestion. 3. Encoding. It is a conversion into symbols such as word, actions, pictures. The process of encoding. 4. Communication channel. This information is transmitted to the receiver through the certain channels which may be either formal or informal. 5. Receiver. A person who receives the message or for whom the message is meant for. 6. Decoding. The person who received the message or symbol from the communicator tries to convert his same in such a way so that he may extract its meaning to his complete understanding. Seven. Feedback. Feedback is the process of ensuring that the receiver has received the message and understood in the same sense as sender meant it. This is the transmission phase. Communication is an essential part of our daily lives. Express ourselves, sharing thoughts and ideas, and connect with others. We have two main types of communication: verbal communication and nonverbal communication. Verbal communication use of spoken words to exchange information, emotions, and thoughts. Nonverbal communication, body language, gestures, facial expression, and voice tone to convey a message. It is a powerful tool that can be used to communicate feelings, emotions, and attitude. Examples of verbal communication: face-to-face conversation, telephonic conversation, sending voice notes, taking interviews, giving a speech, and group discussion. Example of nonverbal communication: nodding head, handshake, hug, showing thumbs up, smiling at someone, and shouting in anger. Nonverbal communication can be more effective than verbal communication in some situations. For example, when someone says something but their body language suggests something different, we are more likely to believe their nonverbal cues over their words. Nonverbal communication is also important in situations where words are not enough to convey a message, comforting a loved one, expressing empathy, and showing respect.